For Coach Mckee, 4 starters returning plus a transfer from UCF. Really, solid roster, but it's a completely different story for Diane Richardson there at Temple. First-year head coach, only had 6 players on her roster when she arrived. What are you really looking forward to in this new era for Temple women's basketball?
Well, Diane Richardson brings with her 6 national championships from Riverdale Baptist. So she has a very successful winning championship pedigree that she's bringing into a program that is established and is one of those ones that you just know in women's basketball, right? She also has 3 players who followed her from Towson. Aleah Nelson, one of those players who dropped 39 points on Florida. So she's got some scores on her team. And for 3 players to follow a coach to a university tells me that the culture, the fit, and that personality is right.
Diane Richardson is the most fascinating college basketball coach, period. First of all, you mentioned in high school, she was 234 and 32. How do you do that?
It's impressive.
234 and 32. I mean, I never got to 234 wins, but I sure got to 32 losses in a hurry. All right. And then her business background, where she's been a CEO, a COO of major, like Bank of America type of places, and with the marketing team. And bringing that business acumen. I've been in business now since I got fired in 1996, right? And so for many years now, I've been in private business. And I often think of, what if I would have gone back? Would I have a different perspective? The answer is yes. I would have been better at the process of being a coach versus sometimes being a little bit scatterbrained, and that's hard to believe. But business gave me discipline. And I think that the Coach Richardson this way, I'm fascinated to hear her backstory and how it's affected her ability to turn around Temple and turn it into a great winning program in the American.
The winning pedigree, it follows her wherever she goes, whatever she's doing, all of the life experiences. And now we welcome in Temple head coach Diane Richardson in her first season. Coach Richardson, welcome to the American. Great to have you here. When you think about what has happened with Temple women's basketball in the past 2 decades between Dawn Staley, Tanya Cardoza, and now you becoming the head coach, how do you plan to put your stamp on this Temple women's basketball program here in year 1?
Well, I'm following 2 great women and 2 great coaches, and so I've got big shoes to fill. But I'm excited about this opportunity. I'm excited about what Temple has and what we can do together to bring this team and winning again.
The media has some questions for you, so now we're going to send things over to Chuck Sullivan with the American, who will field all of those questions. Chuck?
Thanks, Morgan, and welcome, Coach. And we'll start with media questions. We'll start with Sean Pastor, please, from Isles Daily.
Hi, Diane.
Hey, Sean, how are you?
I am great. I'm curious how, as you now work with this group, it seems to me you have a team that is loaded with sort of scoring point guard types. And how that, maybe that's right or wrong, but how that, between Aleah, Aleah, Jasha, that's sort of been their history, how that melds together into what you want these guys to do.
Well, Sean, we've have an offense, and we call it equal opportunity offense. So we want everybody to score. It's great that I've come into a program where we've got scorers here already, and we brought some scorers in. So, with that mantra, we're equal opportunity scorers, it'll work well for us. We want everybody to be able to score the ball.
Somebody's got to pass it, though, right? So how does that, right? If everybody's got their eye on the basket, who has their eye on?
Well, if you look at we've got some great passers. Aleah Nelson was top 10 in the country in assists. And Aleah had a couple triple-doubles last year. So, we don't have a problem with passing it. We just got to finish it.
The other thing I'm curious with, the transfers you brought in from Towson, I would assume or guess that in the transition, you probably had more of your players from Towson who were interested in maybe making the move too, right? You kind of had made choices. How did you navigate that whole, right? 3 came over but you had a lot of players there who are probably very loyal to you, but it's right. You had numbers to juggle.
Yeah. Well, I would have loved to have brought them all, but as any coach, you've got to look at roster management and find out what you need to fill. And we did that with those 3 players that wanted to come and knowing that they would fit in the gaps that we needed. So I think it's a good mix.
Last thing I wanted to ask was about, you've talked about playing a lot of players. Is it 10, 12? Is it up to, 13. You got 14 on the roster.
Yeah, we have 14 on the roster. Hopefully we can get all 14 in, but, it depends on the situations and what our matchups are. So what I'd like is that we're deep, and we're deep in our rotation. So if we don't have much drop-off, I'd like to play them all, to be quite honest with you. We're going to have an up-tempo team, so I want them to get in, do what they need to do, get out, and we'll bring some more in.
Thanks.
Okay, next we'll go to Josh Berlin, City of Basketball Love, please.
Diane, how you doing? Nice to meet you.
I'm good, Josh. How are you?
Doing well. Media day, always fun to talk about expectations. I got a couple questions on that line. When you're setting expectations, there's all sorts of different theories and ways coaches go about it, right? There's the, writing the conference championship up on the whiteboard. There's sort of the more process driven. I'm just curious, what's your way that you set and manage expectations?
Well, the very first thing that I look at is our skill development piece and getting our players to be better than they were. I believe that if we can work on that skill development piece, our expectations will differ each and every time. And rather than putting a goal on the board without having any fluff, to it, we'd like to have tangible things, and that's the skill development piece. That's the piece where the players are getting better positioning, better footwork, all those kinds of things. And the wins will come once we've gotten those things handled.
So what was your reaction to, being picked 7th your inaugural year here?
Well, I can't be based on rankings of what other people think of us. I've got to be on the day-to-day and getting them better. And it's going to be important that we progress so that at the end of the year, we're not at 7th. Perhaps we're higher than that.
The last thing for me, obviously, Aaron Mckee, someone with a long history at Temple, familiarity with the school. I was just wondering if there's any certain things that he's talked to you about, what it takes to succeed at Temple, or just getting used to Philadelphia, North Broad Street, all those things in general.
Everything. I mean, Aaron Mckee has been great. He's welcomed me here. He's given, I'd sit in and watch his practices. We talk about different things. We talk about the landscape in Philly. We talk about recruiting. So he's been great with us and our staff. And it really is a welcoming addition to have somebody with so much background and so much skill and knowing this game and this area. It's great to have him here.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Next to Javon Edmonds, please, Philadelphia Inquirer.
Coach Rich, it seemed like before you got here, the team had played through Mia Davis' role. Now that you're here with this equal opportunity offense, how adjusted are you getting the carryovers from last year and you can go do your thing now? How excited have they been about it?
Well, they've been pretty excited. Mia's a great player. I've watched Mia as she grew up in the area that I come from, but again, with its equal opportunity offense, it is getting them confident that they can score as well. So it's been exciting for them. You'll see the progression from the scoring. You'll see their percentages going up, their efficiency going up. So it's been exciting for them and exciting for us as a whole.
And we'll go next to Christopher Heidel, please, Herb FM Radio in Maryland, please.
Hey, Coach Richardson, it's Chris Heidel from Herbson Radio. How you doing?
I'm good, Chris. How are you?
Doing good. Congratulations on moving up to Temple. Last time I talked to you was the CAA championship game, and that was a bad taste in your mouth. But with that situation,
Yeah.
We'll talk about that down the road. But just
Right.
talk about going up to Philadelphia. It wasn't me coaching in Philly, because Philly is a very hard market to coach in, and I know for a fact they like to boo even if you guys don't do well. So how you get the people to be on the same side?
Well, hopefully we don't get any boos. Hopefully we're doing the right thing so that we'll get the fans behind us. And we've been doing a lot of things in the community. Our players have been out in the community. We've been doing a lot of community service work to have that relationship with community and with the students so that we can have them in. We're going to be playing in the Aleah Corps Center. So it's a large venue, and we want to get it filled. So hopefully we don't get any boos. So we've got to do the right things.
Well, you won't get any boos from us here in the studio, Coach. We promise you that. Brooke Weiss Road here. Great to chat with you. You know, looking back at your history and success with Riverdale Baptist, you know, getting national championships there and then rebuilding a Towson program, I'm wondering what you kind of found as the common thread, maybe even with chemistry, something off the court personality that helps really turn around a program or make it a national championship type level.
I think, Brooke, thanks. That's a great question. I think it begins with your relationship with your players, and I'm big on building confidence, and that confidence piece pretty much carries you. In all the situations I've been in and all the jobs that I've had in coaching, it started with the relationships and confidence building. And my staff here, we are set on building confidence, and that confidence carries on off the court and on the court. And as a result, we've got a great chemistry, a great culture. And I think that's a key to winning.
Coach, thank you so much. Really looking forward to seeing you here in your first season at Temple and all the excitement that you can bring to Philadelphia. Appreciate the time.
Thanks so much.
Coach Richardson really wasting no time making her mark there at Temple. She talks about getting her players out in the community, really sounding like a player's coach. What impressed you from what you heard from her here?
I feel like there's such a mature team that we're going to see from Temple here this year. When you're already able to tell your players, this is how we're going to build confidence. This is how we're going to give back to our community. And, you know, we just hope that players don't, or fans don't boo us, you know. Like she's got such a great sense of just really how to manage this team in a big league like this with big players. And coming from a school like Towson where she's turned around the program, now you're at Temple, historic, Dawn Staley, Tanya Cardoza. These are big names and big shoes to fill, and she's ready.
You know, sometimes we have the opportunity as broadcasters to just sit down and enjoy a presence. And Diane Richardson has a presence. She really understands how to connect. I mean, here we are doing this remotely, right? And we're living in more of a remote world, especially since COVID. But I felt connected. I felt like she speaks my language. And I think that across generations, she speaks the language. Again, I go back to her successful business background, her successful coaching background at the high school level. I mean, this is a woman that's come from the ground up. And now she's trying to share that you can feel that from her. Yeah. The other thing that comes out about her is that Temple, to me, whenever I think of Temple, and I've always had tremendous respect for the university, I think of educators. All the coaches I've ever met that have coached at Temple were educators first. And she fits perfectly with that. Mm-hmm. This is not a good hire. This is a great hire for Temple.
Yeah, fans should really be excited. And you talk about the connections, and she had so many players follow her. One of those who we'll hear from, Aleah Nelson, a senior guard. But then she was also able to retain some of those players, one of them being Jalen Holmes. And we're going to hear from two of them here coming right up. Aleah, Jalen, thank you both for taking the time to join us. Really excited for this new era of Temple women's basketball. We're going to go ahead and turn things over to the media for some questions.
Thanks, Morgan. We'll go right to questions again from the media. Please use the raise hand feature in the Zoom to get in the queue. And we'll start with Josh Ferlin from City of Basketball Love, please.
Ladies, how you doing? Aleah, you know, new coach, new school for you and a few of your teammates, still some youth on the program, but on the other flip side, you know, a lot of talent back. You were first team all-conference performer last year. Where are the expectations for this program this year?
As the expectations are high, being with Coach Rich now year 3, with her coming from Towson with her to Temple, like the expectations are always high. We came from a 24-25 win season last season, so the expectations are to have a winning season and to win the championship. Like that's the only expectation that we have is to win. So it's really high, but it's something that is very achievable, and we are all capable of doing that.
So what's the reaction then to being picked 7th in the conference? Is it understanding? Do you take it as a chip on the shoulder? I mean, how do you use that?
You want to answer that, or we can both answer? Personally, like it's about where you finish. I mean, yes, we start at 7th. It's definitely going to put a chip on our shoulder. We have a lot of new people, new coaching staff, but I try not to pay too much attention to that. It's just about getting better every day, and it's really about where you finish. So yes, we are 7th, but again, it's just about where you finish. So that's where they happen to place us, and it just really does put a chip on our shoulder. So that'll really be a good catalyst to make us have a winning season as well.
Okay, we'll take the next one from Javon Edmonds, please, Philadelphia Inquirer.
Aleah, you're coming up from Baltimore to Philly. So number one, how are you adjusting from chicken boxes to cheesesteaks? And number two, how much are you taking the initiative to try to get the locker room used to the way Coach Rich likes to do things?
Well, first going from chicken boxes to Philly cheesesteaks. I actually haven't even had a cheesesteak up here, so it's kind of it's pretty embarrassing. Actually, it's my third month up here with no cheesesteak. But for the locker room camaraderie, I think it's just about just bringing all the girls together and just creating that relationship off the court, so then it helps us to be better on the court. But it really just starts off the court and in the locker room, and we're just getting better every day. You know, like it's definitely a family type feeling around each other. So that's just what it is. And we're getting closer every day, and we're getting better on the court every day. So that's all we can really ask.
And Jalen, from what you noticed last year, what's like the biggest difference between last season and this season, going into the season and the energy around here?
I think it's like we have a lot of like better energy this year. Like I feel like we kind of just coming together and just learning each other. But so far, like we have been like picking each other up and just like getting better each day. So I would say it's more energy this year.
We'll go next to Sean Pastor, please. It's Owls Daily.
Yeah, Jalen, I wonder if you had any idea, any ear to rumors, when Coach Rich was getting hired, if you had any idea beforehand or when you heard, and, just that reaction.
There was a little rumor. I think someone saw her like on campus. So it was like, and she actually coached me while I was at Towson. I went to Towson freshman and sophomore year. So, I was pretty excited to, hear about that because, we already have history. And I also went to Riverdale Baptist and she coached there. But, we actually won the conference championship my sophomore year. So her just bringing that winning atmosphere, it just brings a lot to the table.
Yeah, I mean, was that some at the time where you were tempted to reach out to her? Like, hey, I hear you're on campus. What's going on? Or
I wanted to, they was kind of keeping it low key, so I didn't want to, step on any toes or anything.
And how well do there's so many Baltimore players, right, who have now transferred in, who were already with the program. How well did you all know each other? How well did you know, like Aleah, probably going back probably 5 years?
Did you go to McDonough?
Yeah,
I'm actually not from Baltimore. I'm from PG County, but the Maryland area. I've never played her, but I did hear about her high school and in the AAU. I did have a couple players that teammates that went to her high school. So the DMV area, we're really all familiar with each other. So.
Aleah, just one question. I wanted to ask, because you transferred back, you went to Cincinnati, then you sort of came back home. Now you're not going far, too far from home. But what went into transferring back to Towson and then, this decision here, which I guess seems more obvious. But what was the first transfer about there?
The first transfer was just finding a better fit for me, as a player, as a person. I love Coach Hurd. She definitely molded me into the point guard I am today. But I've just known Coach Rich forever. Same with Jalen. I've known Coach Rich since I was in the 8th grade, since she's recruited me. So when I went into the portal, it was a pretty easy decision to go right to Towson. So I've just known Coach Rich forever, and that's just my coach. That's who I want to play for the rest of my collegiate career. So.
Aleah, Jalen, thank you both so much. Really looking forward to getting this season going. Appreciate your time. Best of luck.
Thank you.
Thank you.